Hello, and welcome to a new episode of Marketing Ping Pong. My name is Allie,
And my name is Duncan.
and today what we're going to do is we're going to pretend to open a business. And why I love what we do when we pretend to own businesses is we get to play around with the different marketing strategies that we would bring into that business that we wish business owners that we know that have this business or that we've seen these businesses around that like this is our dream scenario. If they did these marketing strategies, that it would just be amazing and work fantastic. But not only that, it helps us stretch our brain and try and talk about new things and new ways to market things that we would not have market businesses that we might not have already thought about. And my goal for everybody listening here is no matter what the businesses we're covering in each one of these episodes, always think, how can this apply to me? How can I apply this to my business, my strategies, my customer base, my social media, my email list? How can I start thinking outside the box? Because that's what we're going to be doing here. How can I think outside the box in my own business and try something new and exciting to capture the love and attention of your customers? So with that, Duncan, it is my turn to pick a business.
Yeah,
And I am supposed to pick a boring business this
that's
time
correct.
around.
Yep.
And so I'm actually going to I'm being strategic with the business that I am picking here. Because tomorrow on the Marketing Power Hour call, which is our membership program, we have a guest coming on that's going to be talking about his landscaping company. And we also have a member in Marketing Power Hour who also owns a landscaping company. And so I thought, I've been thinking all along we should do a landscaping company at one point in time, mainly because we know the same person that owns a landscaping company and it's brought up a lot. But I realized today, like, we have to do this episode today before Mike comes in and drops knowledge. And we have that whole conversation we're going to have with him. And then, it's going to sound like our ideas, but it's actually his ideas. So if we do it before Mike comes into the group, that being said, I've read Mike's books. I already have some idea of what Mike does for marketing. So, there's definitely going to be some inklings of Mike McGroarty in some of the things that I'm going to share. But yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to do a landscaping business. I want to do a boring landscaping business.
All right. Well, I love that idea. And I know for a fact that every boring business that we pick becomes really fun and exciting. So I know this is not going to be a boring landscaping company. It's going to be a fun landscaping company that has more customers than we can even handle. And I'm really excited about it. How do you want to jump in? I know we talk a lot about list building. We talk about social media. We talk about potential for advertising. And I think that's the hard part for me is like even knowing where to start. And the way that I've been thinking about it recently, and the question that I've been rolling around in my head is, how did I get my first 10 customers? Like any business that I've started, how did I get my initial traction and get my feet off the ground? So do you think that might be a good place to start?
It
Just as
can,
a
but I
thought
want to back up
experiment.
a little bit before that.
Okay.
What do we mean by landscaping business? What
No, okay.
kind of landscaping, or like, what is our angle? So I like starting with the angle because if we know our angle, then we know what kind of customers we're going after. So are we looking at, so our mutual friend does both lawn mowing packages, which is really boring, lawn mowing packages, as well as landscape redos, makeovers. And that's more interesting as far as I'm concerned. But you definitely have like people in between that can just do like some, you've got people that go in, and I know they do this too, where they'll go in and just rip out overgrown landscaping and just bring it back to the bare bones for the homeowner. Then you have, good, better, best kind of packages for the landscaping itself. And then you've got the huge upscale, only selling to the high end homeowners that have the multi-million-dollar homes and the type of landscape they're having done, and even commercial properties and the type of landscape they're going to need. So I think that's where we start, is kind of like, what kind of landscaping business are we going to pursue?
Yeah, I love that. And I think that that's an important lesson already in and of itself is like before you get customers, you have to figure out who your customers are. It's like
Yep.
you can't you can target everybody for every kind of landscaping service under the sun, but you're going to be less successful than you would be if you picked a specific niche, a specific type of client that you want to work with. And that being said, I have had a little experience with landscaping companies. My godfather owns a landscaping business in upstate New York, Massachusetts area, the Berkshires, really beautiful area, kind of picturesque, rolling hills, white picket fence neighborhoods, really old money, kind of, high end homes. And then they have like that lake house vibe that you get from like fancy houses in Connecticut. And they get the beautiful leaves changing in fall. And it's just really an amazing place to do landscaping. And he has that kind of business where he has not a ton of customers, but they're really high end. Like he'll do, a 10-acre villa that has a mansion on it and a guest house that they pay him to basically live in the guest house and maintain this property. And I think that that's an interesting way to do it. I don't know if there's as much of that down here. It really is a location dependent business, because up there in Massachusetts, he doesn't work all year round, right? It snows in the winter and there's stuff you can do in the winter, but he just comes down here to Florida and hangs out with us in the winter and then goes back up and starts mowing the lawns when everything gets warm again. But that being said, I like the idea of a luxury high end landscaping company, just because I've been around it before, and it's cool to see those properties, and it's cool to be able to spend that time at them, that you can pay a little bit more attention than you would if you're down here in Florida doing like, you got to do a ton of lawns, because there's a lot of smaller lawns down here and it becomes more of a volume business than it does for something like that. So I don't know what you were thinking, but I do like the luxury end of it.
Yeah, and it is different depending on where you live. So where I'm from, nobody hires anybody to mow their lawn.
Yeah.
Everybody mows their own lawn, like with very few exceptions. It's a small town. Everybody's like, yeah, I've got a mower. Like
Yep.
the idea of hiring somebody, now we hire somebody to mow our lawn. It seems ridiculous down here to mow your own lawn.
Hmm.
Like that's the exception, not the rule. And up north, like somebody pay to have their lawn mowed, like you must have like a lot of money that you paid somebody to have your lawn mowed. And then down here, you don't have that. You do have seasonality, but not the same as what it is up north, where everything just literally, dies and gets coated in snow and there's nothing really to do. So I was thinking down here, because it is more year round, you can do upscale. I do love the idea of I don't love it. I think the most boring part of a landscape business is the mowing. I think it's one of the harder things to sell, because it's kind of something you have to do. As a homeowner, you have to have it mowed. So everybody's really just racing for the bottom of the barrel.
Yep.
What's the cheapest person I can hire to do this job that I'm not going to be out there in the 95-degree weather and the lightning storms? We had a couple of guys push mow our lawn in the middle of a thunderstorm when we first moved here. They knocked on our door. We didn't have a guy yet. And they're like, we'll mow the lawn. They go out there and they push mowed an entire acre with lightning right on top of them. So most homeowners are not willing to do that, right?
Yep.
It takes a special. I gave him a big tip, and I told him, I said, I felt so bad for you out there. So, but they also don't want to pay a lot for it, because it's just lawn mowing. Like, as far as they're concerned, all you're doing is cutting my grass. Like, why do I want to pay a lot of more money to somebody to pay my grass, to cut my grass, when I could pay less money to have my grass cut?
Yeah, it's a commodity. Yeah.
Yes, it's a commodity, and what I do like about it is consistent income, right? If you get a good route going and you're able to maintain your clients, you could get consistent income without having to worry a lot about the marketing in between.
Yep.
And my strategy with that, like if I were to do that sort of business, which I don't think that's what I want to focus on for this call, but my favorite way of doing that, because you were talking about everybody has just a small patch, is to target a community. 100%. I would find a gated community. I would find a neighborhood. Like down here we have communities, but a neighborhood where I'm like, I'm just serving that neighborhood, and I would get really good with the logistics of these are the houses that are right next to each other. So they're all done on the same day. And I would make that the most efficient machine possible. That's the only way I would do that business. I would not bounce around all over the place trying to hit one, half an hour this way and 45 minutes that way. I don't even know that I want to do any in the next neighborhood over.
Yeah.
Like we don't hire, we don't accept a client unless they're from this community. And that goes back to a lot of the marketing that we've already talked about of how you can hyper focus on that community, and you show up at their events, you host events for them, you talk to neighbors as they're outside and like, oh, hey, I'm just mowing their lawn over here. I love the way your flowers look, and just start conversations, and the whole community can know you. And you just own that community.
Yep.
So that's how I would do that. But I think that's just so boring.
Well, you can make it fun, right? So like I think that's, we're talking about a boring business, quote unquote, and like there are ways to inject fun and showmanship into even the most boring business. And before
Topless lawn mowing.
we're gonna get kicked off TikTok, Allie. You can't just take your shirt off at every business.
I think you can.
No. I mean, yes, definitely topless lawn mowing, but also, yes, and I'm going to pull on my improv skills here. Yes, and I feel like you could also do something where in that community you make the actual service something of a show, right? So I just heard a really great podcast where they were talking about a trash business. A guy quit his job at a private equity firm to start a business collecting trash. And you're like, okay, like why would this guy making, whatever, $1 million a year leave to start his own business? And then you think about giant trash collecting businesses like Waste Pro and all these other things. And they're like quietly becoming gazillionaires when they get these giant contracts with the city. And they were talking about how to make trash collecting interesting. And they were talking about the idea of, when the trash guy comes by and the kids get all excited and they want to go out and see the truck, like pick up the thing and dump the trash can into the thing. And it's just like it can be a fun thing for kids to go see. And they were like, I
watch it.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. Like they were like, we would tap into that and make it a game. Like say like, I don't remember exactly how they did it, but they were like, let's paint the truck to match all of our cans. It's like a matching thing where maybe the truck is some sort of thing that eats like whatever the can is painted as. And, like, I don't remember exactly, but it's like make the actual boring service more exciting. It's like, what if the guy that comes and mows the lawn wears a cape and you're like the lawn care hero or whatever. It's like there is a way to spice it up and make it so that it's an event when they actually show up to do the thing. Not that everybody's going to be home necessarily when you come by to mow the lawn, but you get the idea. If the neighbor sees a guy in a cape mowing the lawn, they're going to be like, hey, what are you doing? It's like a way to attract people, right? So you can take a boring service and spice it up a little bit, even if it's like the most boring way to do it.
Okay, so let's I got some ideas there. You were just talking about like the trash can eating thing. What if the lawnmower is eating, right?
Yeah,
like,
give it some googly eyes. That'd be great.
Give it googly eyes and like some teeth on the front, and it's moving through. So I like that. You could also just paint your lawnmower interesting, weird colors, or like, I don't know. I'm trying to visualize those zero turn lawnmowers and like figure out what the surface area is, but I'm sure there's something you could figure out, because like even like the handles on it could be like the antenna. It's like a bug or a caterpillar eating, and then you're holding the antennas and you're moving it around.
Make it pink. Like there's a business that's like a window. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
There's a business called Pinks, and it's like a window washing business, and they have like merch, and the merch is just cool, so people will literally buy a Pinks hat because it has like a cool brand or a cool vibe, but it's really just a window washing company, and all of their trucks are pink, all the shirts are pink. It's like you need something different, and like sometimes being kind of cool and having an interesting color can be it, or painting the lawnmowers into something that eats the grass, and like having something interesting that makes you stand out is even easier in an industry that's so boring, as
Yes, because
boring
you're,
as lawn care.
yeah, you only have to bring a little bit.
Yep.
So I'm going to go back to topless lawn mowing.
Okay.
Not topless women, but shirtless men, like
Yeah.
buff guys that, because who's home in the middle of the day when the lawn's getting mowed? I'm
Oh
just
man.
saying, like if mama's home, it will definitely be the talk of the neighborhood if all you did was hire like really good looking buff guys to do these lawn mowers,
Yeah.
and make a little bit of showmanship out of it, right?
Yeah.
Just like, I'm not saying to be strippers, I'm just saying to learn from the strippers,
Yeah.
and like how they're able to just like do things in a way that you know
Hold the leaf blower kind of suggestively.
yeah, there you go. Well, I think about on TikTok, there's this guy named, I think it's Thorin Bradley.
Hmm.
All you ladies listening, if you're
Does
on
he chop
TikTok,
wood? Is he that
yes,
guy?
he's the wood chopper.
Yeah. Yeah.
You should definitely check him out. I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying I watch his
I'm
videos.
telling Tim.
Tim watches them too because Tim wants to see how because he'll review an axe.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh yeah, that axe looks like it. And I'm like, oh yeah, let's learn all about the axe.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Take a look at that axe there. Yeah.
but I do, in all seriousness, he's very charming and very, very like, just like a safe person to be around, just the way he is. He's very, very sweet. But he also, I love watching how he does just, again, just little suggestive movements and little things. I'm like, that right there. He knew exactly what he was doing when he did that.
Hmm.
Like, he knows how to push those buttons, right? There's a reason why he's got a female audience.
Yep.
But just like that intentionality to it, he could just go out there and chop wood and people would be like, okay, hot guy chopping wood. But he's playing it up, and he's putting the innuendos in there, and not over the top obvious. It's not trashy. He's very classy in his innuendos. And he just got a sponsorship from Wrangler Jeans.
Sure.
And I'm like, that sponsorship makes the most sense of any sponsorship I've ever seen. And they start the video like close up to his butt.
Yeah.
And they come, I like on the right where the Wrangler symbol is, and they come out like that. And he's like, hey, what are you looking at? So
Yeah.
I think that with lawn care, with something physical and sweaty and outside, and the ability to drop water on yourself if you're getting hot and all of that, like, I think, and again, it's not necessarily to take that tactic, but like, what other doors does that open up? You mentioned the pink. What if it was an all-female crew?
Yep.
And they all wore pink, or they all wore kind of fancier looking clothes, or something like that. Like, what can you do that's so different that people are like, what?
No,
and
I like
said, it doesn't have to be so different. It can be.
I like the hot guy strategy. I feel like that would work. I feel like that's like the it's like the quintessential taking something that works in another niche and bringing it to somewhere that it's never been done before. I feel like that would work with lawn care. It would work with like pool care. It would work with a lot of those like regular home services things.
Oh, pool care, 100%. They call it the pool boy.
Oh God, so good. Marketing writes itself. We should switch. We're doing pool company now.
We'll have to do that in the future. But yeah, have hot guys out there cleaning the pool, shirtless.
You could have you could sell a calendar every year with like hot guys with like the lawn equipment and chainsaws, and it's great.
That's what I was thinking. What got me thinking about that was like how people do that with firemen, right? Yeah. Tim watches all the Rescue 911, all the TV dramas about firemen. Because he used to be a fireman, so he likes them for that. But they're always hot guys, right? Yeah. And there's always a reason for them to be in the shower. And then they do calendars like the Australian firefighters that hold kittens.
Yeah.
So that's, I think that having them shirtless hot guys doing lawn care, I think is what this world needs to heal.
This is a certain. The lawn care company we need. Yeah,
exactly. That we didn't know we need, but didn't know we wanted, but we need, or something like that.
Yeah. There's a tagline in there somewhere.
Yeah, something. But I love that you. So the reason why I think lawn mowing lawns is boring is because I'm not a repetitive task person. And you're
Same.
not that person either, from what we've talked about. It's always like, ooh, what's the new thing we can do? And landscaping is that new thing, right? New project, new challenges. Let's solve the problem. Let's take it from this to this. You can see a real, it's kind of like that psychology of, um, you don't clean the house until it gets really dirty, but
Hmm.
then when you clean it, it's super satisfying. It's not satisfying to maintain a house, but it's satisfying to clean a really dirty house.
Yeah.
I'm not a cleaner. I'm not like one of those OCD cleaning type people. Not me. But when it gets really dirty or really cluttered, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
now I'm having fun because I'm
Yeah.
taking a problem and I'm solving it and I can see a noticeable difference. And to me, that's what landscaping, actually doing landscapes, doing tear outs, completely reimagining somebody's landscape is that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Yeah. I think that that's definitely more appealing to me as well. It's like, it's novelty, right? And like, I like novelty. I chase novelty. And the hard part about that from a marketing perspective, and it's not hard, but it's like um, you have to really balance the amount of money that you're spending on your marketing efforts, or like what you're doing on your marketing efforts, with the lack of consistency in the beginning of income. Right, with any business like that, you got to balance those two things. And doing things that are creative, that don't cost a lot of money in the beginning, can be important for a business that doesn't have repeat customers. So that can be something interesting we could talk about as well. But I really like the shirtless hot guy um, mowing idea. It's like we keep coming back to that, and I think it's just because it's such a good idea. So,
No, it is a fantastic idea. But I want to do landscaping.
all right, are we doing a giveaway? Are we doing
Are we
like a?
doing?
I think we should do a giveaway.
Okay.
I think we should do a giveaway to get into really high end communities. So we're tapping into that like single community idea. And one of the things that I've seen happen in these communities is a home in the community will have their kitchen redone. And it will like cause this waterfall of like, oh, well, you know, Kathy got her kitchen redone. Why don't we get our kitchen redone? So it needs an update. And like it gets into this weird like cycle. Every year they'll
Mhm.
redo something about their house, and it's like spurred on by one person, and they all kind of need to keep up with
And that
whatever the
person will
status
throw a
quo.
party to show everybody else their new
Yes.
kitchen. They'd be like, "Ooh, look at this!" And that gets every man. If you were the kitchen remodeler, I would pay for the caterer to host that party
Oh yeah. Yep.
and be present during that party.
100%. Yep. Yep. That's it. And it's like we're talking about something that in landscaping that is like it's out there. Everybody's gonna see it, and it's gonna be like, wow, look how incredible that yard looks. Like we need to do that. We haven't done that in so long, and like the benefit there is like the more, I don't know, the more over the top you go, and not like gaudy, outrageous, but like the more you completely change it and make it a new thing, the better it is for you, because everybody's going to be like, man, it's such a noticeable difference. It's so crazy, because those neighborhoods are usually pretty like cookie cutter. They all kind of have a similar look, and like even though it's really nice and it's fancy houses, they're all very similar looks. And there's the opportunity again, just like in a business that's in a boring industry, a boring niche, like to stand out by not putting in a ton of effort, just like going the extra mile and making it stand out. You're gonna be like a instantly famous in that community for
Mhm.
your yard. So I think we should run a giveaway. In these communities, in like one really, you start with one and you test your giveaway strategy out, and then you can copy and paste it with other communities. But how do you get your foot in the door? I think that's the hardest part with some of these. They're gated. You have to kind of know somebody. You have to know the activity coordinator or whoever's putting those community events together. And one of the things that I was thinking about, that I've seen people do before, are educational talks down here in Florida about cane toads. I don't know if you're familiar with cane
Mhm.
toads,
Mhm.
but I'm sure that there are like outdoor, I don't know, outdoor threats in other uh, places in the U.S. where you could go in as an educational resource for that community, talking about something that they need to be aware of outside that could harm their pets, or that could harm their house, or that could harm their yard, or something that kind of relates to what you're doing. And that down here, cane toads kind of like run hand in hand, right? It'd be better for like a wildlife removal person to do that, but I have seen landscaping companies use that as a foot in the door way
Mhm.
to provide services to people in communities like this. So that's how I would get in. I would use an educational presentation for the homeowners in the community to get my foot in the door, and I would run a giveaway for, I don't know, what are we going to call it? Hot guy landscape makeover? I don't know. Something.
Yeah, we could do the high end landscape redo, but hot guys, shirtless hot guys that are doing high end
Yeah.
landscape
Yeah. I
redos.
just don't want to do this if we don't have hot shirtless guys. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Just same.
If we were on Shark Tank, Allie would be in.
Shirtless guys, let's do it. Um, okay, so
Do you
yeah,
like my strategy?
I like your strategy of doing a presentation.
Okay.
I'm not sure about the cane toad presentation. I'm trying to see if I'm trying to think if there's like a better angle to go in at that they think, oh, this is actually really something I care about.
Sure.
Because that's the challenge, is getting them to care about something that they don't normally even pay that much attention to. I mean, you can get into things like how to instantly increase the resale value of your home. You could get into, man, like it's really, you're right. It's a keeping up with the Joneses problem in those communities.
Yeah.
There's no real problem. There's no real problem except maybe code enforcement or something like that.
Yep.
Um,
I feel like you
and-
could tap into them wanting to look good, not only like the yard look good, but also them personally looking good in some way. So you could do like how to plant Florida native wildlife to save the
right.
bees or
I was
something.
going
Like
to go natives. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
You could definitely talk about natives and saving butterflies and bees and all of
yeah.
that good stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like, that Burmese pythons are eating all the animals in the Everglades. Like, here's the way that you can fight back and help native wildlife by planting native plants. Like there's like local stuff that you can kind of tap into that's in the news already, to try and make them seem like, yeah, just letting you guys know we're joining the Save the Bees campaign, and we're planting all of these native wildflowers, and it's a pretty big deal, and I think you guys should do it too, and like get that whole buzz going in the community.
mhm.
Pun intended, because I'm talking about bees. So yeah, there are other probably better presentations you could do for sure.
I'm also thinking, um, so we don't live in an HOA or anything like that, but I have an aunt who lives in an HOA, and she got pushed back because up in Virginia, she got pushed back because they planted sunflowers around the mailbox. That was not allowed. Can't have sunflowers around the mailbox. They got a letter over that. My mom is in a community where they put the statues. They had a little statue, two little statues out front. Next thing you know, in the newsletter, it's like, just a reminder, everybody, you're only supposed to have one little statue out front. Yeah, anything else has to go in the back.
Oh
So
god, tell me now.
there's always kind of a contention there of what you can and cannot do in your lawn. And so I feel like an HOA meeting or some sort of informational thing of here, like learning that HOA's guidelines and saying, here are 5 plants to avoid that are going to get you in trouble with the HOA because they run, they get too tall, they get whatever, they have a bad smell, whatever it is. And here are 5 plants that you can never go wrong with that will make a beautiful addition to your yard. I almost feel like, because that seems to be the problem, and you're in these high end neighborhoods, that's what people are talking about. And because you also want to be on their good side when you go in and you make a drastic change to their front yard that some people might find be a little jealous of, then go to the HOA and say, I don't think they're allowed to have that, this, that, and the other thing, because that is not aesthetically pleasing for the neighborhood. And it, because they want everything to they do kind of want things to look the same.
Sure.
So I almost feel like maybe there's something there. I'm not exactly sure because I'm not involved in that nonsense with HOAs, but some sort of guide on, or even like a planning, like this would be beautiful. If this would work, this would be beautiful. We want to beautify our neighborhood. And so we're encouraging our residents to upgrade their landscaping. And we brought in a landscape expert who is creating a plan for this neighborhood of, these are the kinds of trees, these are the kinds of bushes, these are the kinds of flowers that we're encouraging the neighbors to plant, so that we have a kind of like Palm Beach Boulevard has the big royal palms all the way down. And, we have a city up north, or a street up north, where there's sycamore trees all the way down that road. And it makes a statement. You drive down and you're like, whoa, there's just a lot of big trees in this stretch. And you get other places in the South that have the Spanish moss oak trees in an area.
Yep.
And that's part of the whole vibe of what that neighborhood and what that street feels like, is what the trees and the landscaping brings to it. So if you could do something like that, I don't know that communities do that. I mean, I imagine some of them do, but even pitch them the idea like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if everybody here had a royal palm in their front yard, or had the Bismarck palms, and we'll come and we'll talk about how doing that can raise the property value for everybody, because now you're in a neighborhood that feels cohesive, and it gives off this.
Yeah. So in some ways, like you could market directly to the HOA board, like
Right.
you could do marketing materials, you could do a marketing strategy directed at getting them to bring you in as the expert to teach people first, like sponsored by the HOA, teaching people about the right kinds of plants. And then, obviously they're going to come to you when they want to redo their landscape. Yeah.
Right.
I like that.
Always look for the gatekeeper, the person who can talk to all the people you want to talk to. They have all the email addresses of all the people that are there. And if you write up the email invitation for this event, and you have good marketing and all of that, and you tell them, hey, don't send it once, send it 3 times. I'll give you all 3 emails to send to this. Then you're going to see a lot better. You're going to see a lot better results, because you're not going after the onesie twosie. You're going after the people who have the influence. And if they sanction it, if they say, hey, everybody, we would love to have you at this meeting, because it's going to just help us all if we're all able to. But I think that if I was just starting out, I would definitely try to build those relationships. But I also think I would just go to Facebook and just do like hyper targeting, find those neighborhoods, and find where there's a cluster of those neighborhoods, because we don't know which one of those neighborhoods is going to hit and be hot first, or has our ideal client in it. And I would just do Facebook ads. You could do, like, are we doing a whole, see, I hate to give away, no, I don't hate to do that. A whole free landscaping to a high-end house could be extremely expensive.
Yep.
So if you did something like that, it would have to be, you have to buy the plants, something like it would be really, really tough to do a $60,000 landscape for free. So what can we offer for free that they would want and is interesting? What about a water feature? We'll put in a water feature or something.
Yeah, like a nice small kind of yeah, the bird that tips up and down, and that's a good idea. Yeah,
the wooden bird.
Yeah, you could do a water feature. You could do maybe like a bird bath. I don't know.
Why don't we give away a Bismarck palm?
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
a
Palm tree.
Bismarck palm or a royal palm, like something that is high value, expensive, like those. I would have a Bismarck palm in a heartbeat if I wanted to spend the money, if I could spend the money to have one. I think they're gorgeous. I absolutely love them. We do have a royal palm in our front yard, and I feel like it does add value to our house, and it's huge. It's like, it's huge. It's a really big one. The fronds. So I had Clary hold up one of the fronds, and it was like 5 feet over Clary's head. They're so big, but something that's a statement. And I was thinking about Mike McGroarty. After I think he had the landscape business first, but then he started growing Japanese maples by seed, and he would include Japanese maples in the landscape. And then he started selling Japanese maples for $5 a piece, but you're getting just a little seedling. But I'm sure, and I don't know if he's ever done it, but if you had a Japanese maple, you know what Japanese maples are, Duncan?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you not see me nodding?
No, you're a little blurry when I see it on my end from the recording.
Yeah, you too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I
So
do. I've seen them. Yep.
yes, yeah, very fancy, very pretty, very high desirable. If you're going to give away a Japanese maple or a begonia, obviously Japanese maple has a lot more value. So if he were to give away a Japanese maple in his community, you would definitely get a lot of people saying, yes, I want that thing, because that would
Yeah.
be an awesome thing to add to my landscape. That's going to increase the perceived value of my house and my landscape. So giving away, and I think Bismarck palm over royal palm, because royal palms you'd have to put them like relatively small when you plant them. I guess, I don't know. I've never planted a royal palm. It's going to have less of a wow factor than a Bismarck. That's kind of fuller and has the big leaves and that sort of thing. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like higher
really,
higher perceived value than, yeah, that's what you're going for. You want something that
yes,
really justifies the entry, right? It's like
yes,
the entry has to be worth, whatever you're giving away has to be an equivalent exchange for them giving you their contact information for sure. But
yes,
yeah, I do like any time you can do hyper targeted offers with ads, they work really well. It's like, this community, we're doing this exclusively for you guys. Here's this giveaway for anybody
mm-hmm,
that lives in these 3 to 5 communities or whatever. They work really well because there's the instant affinity with the community,
mm-hmm,
and it instantly also qualifies people, because only a homeowner is going to sign up for that. If you're renting,
mm-hmm.
you're not going to enter a giveaway to get a tree put into your landlord's property unless you like really like your landlord. So yeah, I like that strategy a lot for
Yeah,
sure.
installed. We'll install it. We'll bring the tree, but it has to be, you have to be, I would put in there, you have to be the homeowner, and it's got
Yeah.
to be installed on your property. And then you're there and you're digging a hole, and that's when sales are made, right? And I think if you made even more of a big deal, I'm trying to think of like, how do you get, so a couple of months ago when you and I were at our friend Dana's house and we stood outside and talked for an unreasonable amount of time, in a gated community, everybody noticed that we were there. Dana tells me the next day, she was like, people were asking me like what was happening at my house, that these people were standing out front, and is everything okay? So how can we install this Bismarck palm in a way that it's a spectacle, that everybody's looking out and everybody's coming around, almost like
Maybe.
a christening of the Bismarck palm, having a little party
Yeah.
around
Yeah, I was
putting
thinking
the.
we like wrap it in gift wrap, like a present that has to be opened. So like we plant it and then it needs to be opened like a gift. I thought that would be fun. If that was like maybe a Christmas giveaway, something like that. If it were like a holiday themed thing, literally wrap the tree up would be fun. Maybe invite everybody to like maybe like a naming ceremony where everybody puts
Yeah.
names into a hat and like you pull out or like vote on the best name for the tree. There's a lot of fun things you could do to get the community involved, and to make it a spectacle as well. If you give your neighbors a reason to come over and see the tree getting put in, it's like even better because all the potential clients are going to be right there, for you to talk to about, sell whatever you want to them. So maybe making it like a neighborhood get together kind of thing for the tree to go in the ground would be the right
Yeah,
idea.
and you could do so. There's Christmas palms, right? You could do Christmas palms wrapped in Christmas paper at Christmas time.
Yeah.
That could be a Christmas giveaway that you're doing. So the idea is to give something away that has a high perceived value, or give something away that has some sort of story to it. So Christmas palm wrapped in Christmas paper and for Christmas, there's a story there, right?
Yep.
There's a connection between those things. I like that a lot. Yeah, I keep thinking like food and how do we get people that like we already had ideas, but like seriously, how do we get people excited about installing a tree on their neighbor's property? How do we get the homeowner? Like, the homeowner's going to be excited that they won something, right? Um, I would say something. I would tell them that we're going to bring a film crew out. We're going to bring a film crew out, and we're going to make a little mini video about this tree being installed. And we're going to put that on social media, and we're going to, I mean, sometimes that's all they need to hear. They're like, oh my God, it'll be on social media.
I'm gonna be famous. Yeah.
Yes. And we'll share it in the Facebook groups for the area. Um, but we're going to have a professional film crew come out.
Yeah, just an unnecessary amount of like cars and people for this thing. Make it an
That,
event, even if neighbors aren't there, that they can't ignore, right? It's like
right.
there's the landscaping people there, there's the truck with the tree on it, there's the film crew van, there's people with cameras. It's like literally the if you look in the dictionary under like impossible to ignore, it's like that's it. Like you
I
just
like the idea of bringing the tree in on a flatbed truck
yeah.
and having some kind of decoration on that flatbed truck.
Make it like a float. Yeah.
Yes, make it like a float, and you bring it in, and maybe we drive it around. We drive it around the community before it winds up. So it's like the parade. We're going to parade the tree around the community, and like also you got to make sure the HOA is not going to get pissed off. But like, like what can we do up to the point where the HOA is like, you guys need to leave? But yeah, I was trying to think of like how could you do like a mini parade? Could you have some majorettes out front, like twirling batons and I don't know. I don't know. I don't go to parades. Like,
Yeah, there's somebody
how can we make
juggling.
it like a little miniature parade, and it's going to go through and maybe get permission from the HOA for the day. Like, we want to play some music. We're going to have a little bit of celebration. We want to celebrate your community. And we're going to we make it about the community. We're going to install this tree. This neighbor is the one who won, but we want to celebrate your community. This is going to beautify the neighborhood. We're super excited about it. And we want to drum it up.
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
can even, there are things that these communities do where everybody kind of just agrees that this is what this community is. And a community can get known for it too. Like there's one in Naples called, oh boy, I don't remember. Mariah's family goes every year to a neighborhood in Naples, Florida, where they decorate every street in a different theme with Christmas lights. So there's like Candy Cane Street and Ornament Street and Snowman Street, and it's a big neighborhood. There's like I don't know 100 houses in there, 150 houses. Every house. I went once and then I was like, okay, cool, I get the idea. Like every single house in that neighborhood decorates, and the one that doesn't looks like a complete jerk. Like there was one house in there that had no lights, and you're like, oh yeah, everybody hates that guy. He's probably sad, lonely, and like
No
the you,
friends.
yeah, no friends. Yep. And I think that you can make I don't know, you can almost make a tradition in this neighborhood that's like tree parade. Like everybody that wants to participate, for the next year, we're going to have a tree parade where we're like installing trees and shrubs to beautify and like maybe the HOA is paying for a portion of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
We
Cool.
bring
Tree
in a
parade.
whole bunch of just different trees, and it's a tree parade, and we could even choose who's going to get the trees that day, or we could have pre-chosen who's going to get the trees, but multiple people get trees at the same time as a beautification initiative from
Yep.
the HOA, and we do the tree parade and we have a tree party, and it's a whole community event. We have everybody meet at the clubhouse, and we offer refreshments and all of that, and the trees are on display. These are the trees that are going to be
You could even do
distributed.
like a tree auction and have like an auctioneer there. That'd be
Yes,
fun. Hmm.
that would be a lot of fun.
I love auctions.
No, a tree auction would be fantastic, and you could
Hmm.
do like um you could even do proceeds going to charity,
Yeah.
and bid on the trees, but then you're attached to that, and then everybody has to register ahead of time for the auction, which means you're getting the email list for everybody
Yep.
there.
Yep.
And you've got like, so we've got the bougainvillea, right? And they're doing that, and everybody's looking at the Bismarck palm at the back of the room, and they're all excited about the Bismarck palm, and oh my gosh, that would be so great. That would be fun.
All right. So we got our strategy here. I love a good auction. I love a good party. Like you make it a party, right? So you do your auction and then everybody's hanging out, doing a barbecue. Maybe there's music because they have communities do that already where there's like they pay a band to come play by the pool for 4th of July. We've done a few of those. When I played in a band, our band did a few of those. So you could have a band come and it's like a community event, same time every year, music, food, tree auction. And then while people are partying and hanging out, those trees are getting installed. And then it's like you do media to show the trees getting installed and pictures before and after of the trees. It's like um, there's a lot going on. I feel like it's a community event plus a huge marketing and media push for this landscaping company that we're making here.
Mm-hmm.
And you can use all that media to pitch and sell the concept to other communities, right? Once you do one of them, that's kind of the hard part is like getting that first one done and out of the way and like signing somebody up to do it. But once you got somebody and you do it, you just need to make sure that you capitalize on it, collect the emails, do the content, and then you can redo it in that community. And also it makes it much easier to sell to other communities. So
Yeah, and so the one thing I would disagree with on that, the only one thing, I think all of it's fantastic. I would not install the trees during the party.
are we going
I
to have a
would
fight,
say,
Allie?
let's schedule a time for us to bring the tree and talk about where is the best place for it to fit in your landscape.
Sure, that makes sense.
Now you're standing there with the homeowner, and they're looking at their landscaping, this awesome tree that they just won, and their landscape doesn't look great. And
Yeah.
they're like, oh, but I really wish that, I could put it here, but I've already got stuff there, and I wish we didn't have that. It'd be really nice. Now you've turned that auction. They get the tree and that tree and that installation for free, but those could turn into $10,000 plus landscape
Yeah.
makeovers because you're taking the time to talk to the homeowner.
Love that. Yeah, so I completely agree. I'm still waiting for the time where you mentioned like, one of these days you want to disagree on something and have a back and forth about it.
I know. I want to battle.
It's just hard because we're both geniuses and like everything we say is perfect and correct. So maybe we just got to get a little dumber and then we will have our fight. But no,
I
that's
know there's got to be something there. And I was telling you before, like I want a marketing debate. Like I want to debate with somebody who disagrees with me on a marketing strategy. But yeah, we haven't found it yet.
I'll just have to pick the opposite side one time, play devil's advocate, and fight you the whole episode. That'd be fun.
That'll work.
Okay,
All
so
right,
we're
hold on.
installing the trees at a separate time to use it as a sales strategy. I like that. We got our tree auction, tree party, tree parade, and what else we got? So that's like our landscaping. That's our like foot in the door to the community.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I've got another one for
All right.
collecting names, etc. Partnering up with other businesses, displaying a tree in their front lobby and saying, "Enter to win this tree."
Ooh, that's pretty neat.
If you have a high traffic or even if you don't have the tree there, you could send them a picture of the Bismarck palm and say, I want to give this away to one of your customers, and then you pre-write the emails for them to send out to their customers, where they go and they opt in to potentially win this.
Yeah.
So I think that would be good. Any kind of giveaway wherever your customers are hanging out. I would go to like a jewelry store. Like if we're looking for the high end people, like who are the people buying Duncan diamonds or
Yep.
whatever is down here, and offer them something. A high end fancy. If they're buying diamonds, they want a Bismarck palm. Is all I'm saying.
Mm.
If you use Bismarck palms sheerly as a marketing, as the bait, right? It's the bait that we are attracting all the fishies in with, because everybody loves them. And if they don't all love that, well, okay, you can pick a different one. But most people like the Bismarck palms. They understand that it is a status symbol. When you go by a house and they've got 15 Bismarck palms in there, they're saying something,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
They're making a statement. They're letting you know who they are. We got a neighbor that has like 9 of them in his front yard, and they're so pretty, but then he trims them to where there's just like a couple, like 3 fronds at the top. I'm like, you ruined it. You ruined it. The whole beauty of the Bismarck is how full it is, and you just ruined it. The funny thing is they're landscapers, and that's how they got the Bismarck palm. So they're thinking utility, not beauty,
Yep.
right? Like, well,
Yep.
if I trim it tight, I won't have to trim it for a while. And I'm like, no, that's not the point.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
want them to be beautiful. Okay. So yeah, any way that we could give away the Bismarck palm to build a list. Now, what do we do with the list once we have emails and mailing addresses? So I want to go direct mail with this. Obviously, free. So having talked to Jessica before about how they do some of their quoting for landscaping, offering, if we're going high end. So with Jessica, what we talked about was not necessarily the high end landscaping. We talked more about the person that just has the average cookie cutter house in Southwest Florida, whose landscape is overgrown or just needs a freshener, and you offer a $2,000, $3,000 package where we'll come in and we'll tidy things up and maybe put a few new plants in and some mulch, right?
Yeah.
So you're just making it look nicer. For high end, we don't necessarily want to do that, right? I don't think that. I don't know. I'm not sure how I would create a package in a high end market, especially when they want to be unique and different from what their neighbors are, and they're not going to want the average. Although some of them are, they're going to be like, hey, I just want to look like what Jody did down the road there. But yeah, what are the offers? How do we actually get on the property besides winning the tree? How do we get on the property, give quotes, and give? So one of the things about high end landscaping is it is very competitive, and they are pricing it out. So we've got to take the competition out of the running by making us the shoe in pick before we even come to the property.
Okay.
So I don't want to be running this business where I'm like trying to price compete with everybody else. That's got to be off the table. I want to set it up that they're like, that's the one, right? Just like people like jewelry, Tiffany's. Tiffany's is the one. I don't care how much it is. I just know that it's got to be that company that I buy this piece of jewelry from, right?
Sure.
So our XYZ land topless, shirtless, hot guy landscaping company is the obvious choice, and they're just not going to go anywhere else.
Yeah, I think that we can leverage something that I've seen from other high-end luxury industries, and it may already exist in landscaping, and I just don't know. But it's the strategy of doing in your quote, doing a like 3D rendering of what the landscape might look like based on images of their property. You can do that with, looking at floor plans of a house and planning it out and doing like a 3D design of how the new cabinets and countertops would look. That's something that already exists. They offer that design for free to either get the sale or as bait to get somebody to book the estimate. It's like, look at this, we can visualize what your yard would look like before we even do any of the work, and we include that for free, with every estimate is this 3D rendering of how we think your yard should look. I don't know if that's kind of what you're thinking. I mean, it's like it's not really like the it factor that we usually go for, but if it's not something that's usually done in landscaping, it can help you stand out from everybody else.
Absolutely. If everybody else isn't doing it, do it. And it's something that the customer would appreciate. But I want to go further.
Do it.
I want to go further. I want to go beyond the expected. For me, what popped up in my head when I thought about that, I was thinking about, I think it was a Dan Kennedy book I was reading where he talked about a dental office that had a baby grand piano in the seating area. The door was locked. You could only be buzzed in. Um, they did not take any customers that were not referrals. There's like a chandelier in the waiting room. Everything was redone, just high end, classy, and they charged premium prices, and people were like fighting over each other to get in. The doctor only worked 4 days a week instead of 6 days a week. He worked the hours he wanted to because he charged enough, and he made it exclusive. So, you could do referral only. We'll come out, take a look at your property, and then we will send a limousine to your house to pick you up, bring you to a really nice restaurant of, I don't know, whatever restaurant people go to, bring you to this super nice restaurant where you will then meet with the team of designers who give you a presentation on your home. They buy you lunch, they give you a presentation. You're wined and dined as you're given a full presentation where they walk you through exactly what they're going to do from beginning to end with advantages and benefits of each one of those steps. And what we're going to do is we're going to remove the sod in this area because what we want is a nice clean palette before we bring in the colors. Now the colors, we're thinking like fuchsias and greens, like almost like we're designing a dress or like an interior designer would talk about, right? And walk them through the entire presentation. And then it's all done on like a really high end paper. And they're presented with they're presented and it's got like a gold seal or something. Like you could even seal it in front of them. You put it in like a really fancy envelope and you close it and you seal it and you hand it to them, and then you take them home. And it's referral. I think that why referral only works is because if it's not referral only, anybody could take advantage of that. I'm going to get a free meal and champagne. But if your friend referred you and then you didn't hire that company and you just took the free champagne and whatnot, then you're going to be a little embarrassed and the friend's going to be a little irritated at you.
Yeah.
Right. Like that was a shitty thing to do, Karen. Like, so you're more likely, because then that person wants to be in the same club their friend is in, that they were one of the people that actually hired this company. And so now we are in this exclusive club and only people that we deem are worthy can be brought into the club. I think it really feeds into, if we're looking at high-end clients, it feeds into that exclusivity. It feeds into that like little clique that they're forming. And then it strokes them where they like to be stroked, wined and dined, high end. They want to feel like they're royalty. So treat them as such, and then give them the quote, like mood lighting and like I want a candle lit at the table. Like it's got to be nice. And then once they hire you, they're in the club and they get the privilege of bringing other people in.
Yeah, no, I like that. It's like taking the idea of using the same thing that happens in a community where somebody gets their lawn done and the neighbor gets jealous and does it too, and turns it up to 11. It's like, this is like landscaping as a status symbol, period. It's like, if you want the absolute best landscape ever, available in town, it's going to be from us, and you're going to be treated like royalty the whole time. I do like it.
I know the other thing. Then the landscaper hires a painter to come out and paint them a painting of their house with the new landscape that they then hang in their home.
Yeah, that's next level. Yep. I love
But
it.
people like that. People like to have portraits. I actually had a client who did house portraits.
Wow.
People wanted portraits of their house. They wanted them on ornaments and they wanted them on pictures, and they would give them as gifts. It was a good realtor gift. Realtors would buy an ornament with that person's home on it for the Christmas tree.
Nice.
So, the people that have these high end homes that are very proud and want to show it off, to have, it doesn't have to be a huge one, although it can be depending on the size of the project. But you're giving them a piece of art based on what you created. I remember I watched years ago, it was some kind of show. I don't even remember what it was, but it was about this guy who grew peaches, and they made like, they grew like the best peaches in California. And there was a restaurant that they would sell the peaches to, and they would actually in the spring cut um, branches or branches of the peaches in bloom and send them as a fresh cut flower bouquet to this well-known restaurant that would use the peaches to be like,
Wow.
this is what the peaches are going to be this year. Like, this is an example of what you're going to receive. So yeah, she would have these blossoms delivered to her. As it's part of the story, right? It's part of the story of these peaches. It goes from bland, boring peaches to now it's something. I was even thinking, rather than taking somebody to a restaurant, you could just have the designer show up in a limo, and bring caviar and champagne into the house. That would also help them kind of like get to know the style. But part of the presentation can be telling the stories of the different types of trees. Like, what is the story of the Bismarck palm? Where does it come from? Where are these grown? Like, as soon as you tell, we were watching, have you ever seen Ugly Betty?
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a really good show. I've been enjoying it. A little dated in some things, but there we were watching the part where Wilhelmina has to sell off her collection to help keep the magazine afloat. And they said, "Oh, this chinchilla fur, like, where is that hand stitching?" And she's like, "Yes, it was hand stitched by a French woman whose great great grandfather was the whatever it's called for Napoleon himself, and it's been in she lives in this one area, and she tells this whole story." And he's like, "Oh wow," and she walks away, and Mark's like, "Really?" And she goes, "No, I don't know. I just made it up."
Yeah.
But the story, you shouldn't make up stories, but everything has a story. And if you know the story, tell the story. So just even saying, this is why we chose these pieces because of the connection to you. And even through the quote process, really sitting down and interviewing the customer and getting very deep on, like, where are you from? Where's your favorite place to vacation? What has been your vision? Why do you live in Southwest Florida? What drew you to this area? Again, seeing their home, how is your home decorated? And then we're going to create a custom landscape based on everything that is you.
Yeah.
And this is why we chose this tree. And this is why we chose that bush. And this is why we're going to go with rock over
Yeah, that's a
mulch.
powerful idea. I think it's like, if you can create a product that every time somebody looks at it, they have a core memory attached to it. It's like, wow, that's intense. It's like an intense selling tool, but it's also a very powerful marketing tool. It takes like the human stories that we were talking about in another episode and attaches it to a product, right? That's can be hard sometimes, like attaching a story to a product without feeling like a sale. But if the product was literally chosen to represent the story of someone's life, it's like, it's like that's extremely powerful.
And who's retelling that story over and over and over again?
Yeah.
Every time the neighbors walk by, "Oh, Mary, I see you got re-landscaping. George, you got to come over and see this." Now, you know that I went on vacation like 2 years ago to whatever, and there were these amazing trees. They actually brought those trees here,
Yeah.
and they put them in the landscape. Oh, and then you got to check this over here, and my favorite color is purple, and so she made this whole purple section just so that as I'm walking out of the car, I'm always seeing the purple as I walk through the home.
Yep.
And it connects with the design that we have, like even having bird of paradise right outside the door, because she's got bird of paradise wallpaper when she walks into the foyer, right? So just like making all of those connections, and that's something that she wants to brag about, right? She wants to tell everybody, oh my goodness. And nobody, first of all, nobody's story is more interesting than our own.
Yep.
We like our own stories. Nobody is more interested in our stories than us. As much as we think that we're unique, we have the best stories. They're the best to us. So nothing is more important to you than your own stories. And nothing feels better than knowing that you were heard,
Yep.
and that somebody listened to your story. And when they can reflect that, and again, I was thinking about Ugly Betty, where she had to put on a show for this guy that has this crazy like razor wire clothing. And she's like, I don't know how to put on a show, but she talked to him, and he talked about how his father tried to escape over the Berlin Wall, and he got killed, and he got left behind as a kid, and the wall came down, but that stuck with him. And that's why he did this razor. She was able to tease out why he did what he did, and she was able to develop a show then around his story. And being heard, being actually heard and understood by another human being, you can't put a price on that. But we can try, though. we can put a
No,
but
no,
that's where
it's priceless, which means very
yes.
expensive. Yeah.
But that's where we show up like nothing like what the competition is even considering doing. Somebody who has called us, by the time they have called us, they've already decided that we're the right way to go. They've already heard the stories from other people, and they heard that Mary was heard, and Mary's landscaping is built on her life and her stories. I want that too, and I got a lot of money sitting around to make that happen for me too.
Yep. Yeah, I think that the thing there that is really powerful that I wrote down, although a lot of it was being actually heard.
But not all of it. Is that what you're saying?
No,
not all of it.
But all of it was really powerful. The one that I wrote down out of all of them is being actually heard by another human being is like priceless. Like you can't put a price on that. And I think that concept can be pulled into a lot of different things in not just marketing, but in business, right? A lot of people go to networking events and they're telling people what they do for a living and like what they're trying to sell, and they're putting their message out. And the most success that I've ever had at networking events is asking people about themselves and getting them talking about themselves, and then remembering things about them that the next time that I see them, I'm like, hey, how's that thing? And it's like instantly they're like, oh, this guy is amazing. And like, I didn't say a word about myself, but they loved me because I made them feel heard. And it's not though it is a tactic, it's not disingenuous, because I am actually curious about people. And I think that if you apply that strategy of like making people actually feel heard, listened to, acknowledged, it will change a lot of things about your business. Same thing with sales conversations too. Like you sit down and start asking someone questions as opposed to saying, well, here's our product and here's all the benefits and features. It's like you need to understand the situation that they're in before you try and sell anything to them, because how do you even know if what you're selling is actually applicable to their life? So like really hearing people that's just a very powerful message. So good job.
Super powerful. And it is something that you're really good at. You really are good. You are good at making other people feel heard. I've seen you in action at networking events. I've seen you in action that just like the thing we did with the other group. You're really, even with my kids, like when you walked up to Willow at that one networking event and sat down and asked Willow, like, hey, so what are you working on? And how's this going? I think you asked her about the podcast or something like that. Like, she's like, Duncan's amazing, because you asked her about her.
Yeah.
And that's definitely something I've got to work on, but I have gotten better that, especially like if somebody's trying to hire me for something, I do turn it around to ask questions, because I'm very aware that it's important to me to give the right solution to their problem and to make both of us happy. I don't want them just giving me money and then I find out that they wanted something else. So I do ask a lot of questions. I struggle with it at the networking meeting because I'm still like, I don't know what to do with my hands. So I'm just like blurting stuff out because I don't know. I'm just trying to fill the space. What am I supposed to do?
I
I'm supposed to
love
be talking and saying something. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get that. So like I think feeling uncomfortable, I've grown to enjoy it. It's something that I've always liked as far as like learning new skills and failing and stuff like that. And the conversation thing, the networking thing, it's just that over and over again. It's like going up to people and like feeling weird and awkward over and
Mm-hmm.
over and over. And to me, it's like if you, the more you can get comfortable in that feeling, the the more you can get what you want. Like in everything. Like I've always leaned into that feeling, and it usually produces positive results because you get better at whatever that thing is, and it's like whatever. There's so many cliches. Like everything you want's on the other side of fear
Right.
or being
What you're,
uncomfortable.
what you're afraid to do. And the only
Yeah.
way out is through. And yeah.
Yeah.
Got to
Yeah.
go through the valley of despair. If I can get past the panic and I can remind myself, ask them a question. I can do it.
Yeah.
But it's like I've gotta have super self-awareness in that moment. Like, hey, Allie, what we're supposed to do now is ask them a question to show interest in them.
Yeah.
Okay, go.
Yeah, and like some people it just doesn't click because they're in their own version of that, right? Like I'm fascinated by everything, to be completely honest, but people are just a constant source of fascination for me because they're all just weird. All people are weird. Like they all have their things, and I'm like, you got your thing. Like, what's your thing? I know you got something, and it weird in a good way. I don't think it's like a negative thing. You know, like I like playing with venomous snakes. That's weird. Like people, that's not something you should do. They can kill you. It's like everybody has something like that that they're, I don't know, passionate about that doesn't fit with like normal society, or they have like an interesting skill, or they had something crazy happen in their life. It's like there's something there, and most people are willing to talk about it. You just got to get them, like crack the egg. It's like
Yeah, and a lot of them are eager to talk about it, and that's what I have to remember.
Yep.
I always feel like I'm prying, like I'm being inappropriate by asking questions I'm not supposed to ask.
Yeah.
That I'm supposed to just be quiet and only accept what they're offering and not lean into it. So I think that is a skill definitely that, because once you do it, nobody's mad. Nobody's mad. I do get nervous that they'll be like, oh yeah, this horrible thing happened. Like I was talking to a guy at a networking meeting and I'm like, I'm going to ask questions. I sat next to him. He was like a British police officer who's now in, I can't remember what I don't even think it was Home Watch. I can't remember what his business was, but he was super interesting. And I'm talking to him and he was like, oh yeah, my wife and I, or something like that. I'm like, oh, is your wife here? And he goes, actually, well, yeah, I moved here to try to put the marriage back together, but it didn't work out. And I'm like, and he's like, yeah, conversation killer, isn't it? And I'm like, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
It's the worst. Like that was my biggest fear, that it's going to be something like that.
Well, I feel like that's what you want, right? Like you got to flip it. It's like, those are the good ones. That's what, when you're like, yeah, I'm leaning in. I'm like, oh wow, so you moved all the way here. How's it going? Like, have you guys talked yet? Like, tell me more. If he's willing to tell you that, like,
there's a lot of social anxiety I have to get over before I'm asking somebody about their divorce.
Sure. Yeah. Well, but
I agree with you that is, I don't want to say the right way to go, but it's the more interesting way to go.
I think it's the right way because like, how do you instantly, like, what better way to instantly build rapport than get to know someone on a deeper level than they get to know anybody else there, right? It's like, I don't know if it's always going to end how you want it to end. Like, it's not always going to end in a business relationship, but they're always going to know you. It's like you show up at another thing, they're going to be like, that's the guy that I opened up to about my ex-wife or whatever. It's like that doesn't normally happen to people. Which is what, I've experienced that just because I've always been like this. I've always been kind of like whatever the thing is that I have, whatever
No filter, I think it's
whatever
called.
affliction. Yeah. Well, I'm genuinely curious. Like I've always been like that. And sincere about it. Like I want to know about people. I think they're interesting. And I'll have people from high school that are like, they see me at, wherever they're working. I go into their job. They're like, oh, hey, Duncan. And I'm like, oh, yeah, hey, you. I'm sorry, I don't remember you at all. And they're like, you don't remember me? You helped me overcome my fear of spiders when you worked at the pet store. And like, you were just you helped me hold. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I had no idea who you are. I'm so sorry. But people develop that connection with you when you're genuinely curious, whether you like it or not. So like that connection is there, and that's what you're looking for in um, marketing, really, and business is like build that know, like, and trust. And you have it. That's how you do it, in my opinion, in person, breaking down all those barriers and getting past all the small talky garbage that we do at networking events to instantly get to what matters to that person, not to you. Like
Yep.
to me, it's like
Yep.
I'm just interested and curious, and something matters to them. I just want to figure out what it is. So
And everywhere I've been out in public with you and around you, when people say, "Oh, Duncan, hi, Duncan," everybody's Duncan's friend.
yeah,
Everybody's Duncan's friend.
yep.
I'm gonna be like, I want to be like you when I grow up. But that's my networking goal. Is can I be more of a? And I don't even want to say it. Like that's my personal goal. In fact, I did that. Willow was talking about how when she first joined it was an unschooling forum that she joined, and I had told her, welcome everybody that comes into the group, you'll make friends that way. And because she did that, she had one friend come stay with us in Ohio. We went and visited him in Philadelphia, spent the weekend with his family, which was really, really great. Willow flew to Colorado and spent like a week with another friend, went to a Fall Out Boy concert and all of that. And she's dating another one of them, all from because she was the only one when people would join the group that would say, welcome to the group. Here's everything that's going on. Tell me something about yourself.
Yep.
So after I had that, she was telling me about that the other day. She's like, that was really good advice. Look at all this stuff that happened because of that.
Yeah. And
Her
I think
current boyfriend is.
that same mentality is like, it just opens a lot of doors, right? It's like
Mhm.
everybody that you talk to uh, has something of value to provide. And I think that I don't know, I think that if you come at it from that perspective, like you'll like, just like you said, it opened a lot of doors for Willow. She made a lot of
Mhm.
friends, boyfriend. It opened all these doors to different experiences, and it's the same in business. Like everybody, whether it's with them or with somebody else, like there's always an opportunity there, even if it's not new client. Like maybe they know something that will help you grow your business, or whatever.
Or maybe it's something that, they mention and you've never heard of it before. Now you know about this thing and it's brought up at another time. You're like, oh, I know somebody who does that.
Mm-hmm.
And it enriches that conversation. Like
Yep.
there's something you can learn from and I know this intellectually, there's something you can learn from every one of
Yes.
those interactions. You just got to get past your social anxiety and just do it. Just
Having a
do it.
plan going in helps too, though. We've gotten like way off of our business
I know.
here, but it's a good
I think it's good.
conversation. Yeah. So I think having a plan for me helps going in. So like, I'm gonna hit networking pretty hard this year, more for myself, like than the business, but um, tangent. Like the last half of 2023, I've been like in a hole working pretty hard to build things and fulfill client work, and it's pulled me away from like making friends and meeting other business owners, and it's been um, isolating. So like I'm gonna go out, network really hard the beginning of this year, just like I did last year. And going in with a plan is what helped me last year. So like literally it can be any networking event that I'm going to in January. The question that I'm going to use to open conversations is, did you hit your goals in 2023? And if not, what are you changing this year to try and hit them this year?
Oh, that's so good.
Right. It's like you don't need to, I don't know, it's like it doesn't have to be a on a wing and a prayer thing. It's like I can go in
Mm.
like, I'm curious, I want to know this about other people, and this group of people probably thinks like me. Like I have those goals, So I'm going to see if
Mhm.
they've thought about it. And if not, they leave the conversation thinking, man, that's a really compelling question. I need to think about that. And now I'm the smart, cool guy that asked them a cool question, right? It's like,
Mhm.
and it's not, I don't come at it trying to be like the smart, cool guy, because you'll come off like that. You'll come off like a pompous jerk. Like, I just wanted to say the cool thing in class. I actually want to know if they hit their goals. And if they did, I celebrate with them. And if not, I'm like, yeah, well, what are you planning on doing to hit them this year? And it just starts things off on the right foot. So going with a plan.
I love that. I think we need to do a whole episode about questions, because there's a lot of things in sales and even in marketing. I think it's Ryan Levesque did the book Ask. I think it's on my bookshelf here somewhere. I listened to the audiobook of that, and like, if all you ever did was ask questions in your business, you stop selling and just ask questions, or at least the first half of what you're doing, ask questions. You're going to get you. It's so much more enlightening than selling and talking, right? Asking questions. We talk about thinking time. It's just asking questions. It's asking questions of ourselves. We ask questions of our current customers. We ask questions of our past customers. We ask questions of people who haven't hired us yet. We ask questions of people, why didn't they hire us? The more we ask questions, the more engaged people get, and the more they feel heard, right? I think that question asking is a subject all on its own that I think we could go much, much deeper in, like all the different ways we can use questions and why questions are as effective as they are.
Yeah, I think I think questions are everything, right? It's like everything starts with a question in marketing. You have to ask yourself who your ideal customer is.
Mm-hmm.
In my world, like, that's first steps, right? Is asking the right questions about your audience and who you're trying to market to. And then it's another series of questions. Like, that opens the door to asking, like, okay, what makes them tick? Like, what are their pain points? What are their this? What are their that? So, like, the whole thing that we're talking about starts with questions and asking yourself the right questions about the people that you're trying to sell to. So I agree. Like, you could do we should write a book called Questions. Like, it's such a good line of thinking for sure.
It should be just a book full of questions.
Yeah.
Like, these are different kinds of questions to ask. Like, these are powerful and valuable questions to ask. A customer didn't buy. Why? We talked about that on, we had Scott Lay on my, in my Handmade Sellers Club group today. And he was talking about, they always, at the end of a product's lifespan, I can't remember what he called it, but they basically just look at, all right, why did this happen? Why didn't that happen? And they ask all the questions and they dig in so that the next time they go out there, they're equipped with better information so that they can approach that product a different way. I think questions, I think that as business owners, we feel like we should have the answers and not that we should be asking the questions. I think we need a total paradigm shift for most small business owners, that don't be the one with the answers, be the one with the questions.
Yep.
Because if you have the right questions, you're helping the customer come to their own answers. And if you ask those questions in the right way, if you ask the right questions, you are creating your marketing strategy. That's in coaching. That's all I do. I'm asking questions. They want me to tell them when I'm coaching somebody one-on-one, tell me what to do. I'm like, all right, what do you want to accomplish? Who do you want to sell to? Which product sold the best? Which one do you enjoy selling?
Yep.
Can you raise your prices? Do you know, like, all my entire job is asking them
Yep.
questions.
What kind of life do
And
you
then,
want to have? There's so
yeah,
many questions there.
we've
Yep.
talked about that a lot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I love that. I do think that's like its whole own episode. That's its own business that we could start. That's like, ask yourself the right questions for sure. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Love it.
Awesome. All right. So, I want to change slightly, one thing about our high-end landscaping business. And that is, instead of just random shirtless hot men, I want them to be like super, like, I have a vision in my head. I don't know how to describe it. Um, just very Italian. I want them to be like Italian men that go to art galleries. That's who I want installing the landscaping.
Okay.
And I want them like cursing things out in Italian and admiring things in Italian as they're installing the landscaping.
Okay.
And they can only speak Italian. They can't speak English on the site. They can only speak Italian. And instead of shirtless, just like a very low cut, unbuttoned shirt, like a billowy shirt.
So Allie has a type, huh?
No, not in general. Just like this is my vision of like the perfect aesthetic of
This
what
is a-
this landscape.
This is a
install
very
is gonna look like.
specific description, Allie.
I think it's because we've been watching Ugly Betty and like
Okay.
with the male models and stuff like that on there.
Yeah.
But I just think it's fun just to have guys yelling at each other in Italian as they're installing plants, like, and they put their hand through their hair, you know, like they got the longer hair. Like it's such a vibe.
Sure. Yeah. I do. I like it.
Palm trees and
Yeah. Palm trees. They could be putting up statues of David in the garden.
yes,
Yeah.
we gotta have marble involved somehow.
No, I see the picture. Like I get the vision. Yeah. Nope. It fits. You know, all the people involved in the process, the limousine driver, the people giving the presentations, they'll do it all in Italian with an interpreter. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
Yeah, no, you can't have like you can't have
A hot guy from
sweating-
Nebraska.
you can't have like guys out there in like fluorescent yellow shirts installing the landscape.
No.
They've gotta be like wearing black trousers, white billowy shirts.
Very tight pants. Yeah. Yeah.
You said that. I didn't say that.
No, I see the picture. Like I know the Italian gentleman that you're describing to me right now.
Yes, I think that's part of the aesthetic. Yeah, everything should be Italian.
Love it.
Yep.
Yeah, and the restaurant they're taken to when they're wined and dined is an Italian restaurant as well, and we own that too.
French. We got to interrupt the pattern. That's got to be French.
That's fair. Yeah, don't want it to be too Italian. Yeah,
exactly. We got to even it out a little bit. Italian's a little too obvious of a choice at that point in time. Oh my gosh. All right. So that is our landscaping company. I think, again, it's another one where I feel like we could go much, much deeper and further with it. I think we've just kind of like hit, because there are so many different angles, right? The high end. If I were to start this business, I would probably not be a high end landscaper. I don't speak Italian. Like the pressure of doing a high ticket project like that. I don't think I have the constitution for it. I'd be like the $3,000 will give you a nice yard. I'd be the Mike McGorty kind of landscaper. We'll have to tell him about this tomorrow. He'll like that. Because his whole thing was, I don't do the high end landscapes because they're snooty people and I don't want to deal with them.
Yep.
So he was like, I just want the grandma that has a couple. And at the time when he was doing, I think he charged like $500 for a redo. And this is like early 90s, something like that. And in Ohio. So, just do a nice little, pull the weeds, put the mulch down, put a couple of flowers in, and, they're happy. That's probably what I would end up doing. And shirtless mowers.
Yep. That's probably more in line with my, my constitution as well. It's like the
Yes.
high end stuff comes with a lot of pressure, comes with
Yes.
the high end expectation, and like
Right.
there's the
You got to hit every point exactly right.
yeah, exactly. And like I don't,
If you're going to charge $150,000 for a landscape, not a leaf can be out of place.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, this was fun.
Yeah.
I love the conversation about the networking. I think I'm going to clip that out all on its own. I think that's a fantastic discussion. The next call we're going to have a guest. So the next podcast is going to, there will be 3 of us with my fun business. And you guys have to tune in next time so you see who the guest is. I'm really, really excited to have them on the show. And I want to remind everybody that we do have the Marketing Ping Pong Facebook group. Duncan and I are in that group every single day posting. We're in the group every day. Most days we post marketing tips, tricks, advice, even sometimes a little bit of a challenge like, hey, what is wrong with this ad? Or what do you see about this ad that works? It's not just another one of those boring Facebook groups where we're regurgitating platitudes about know your customer. Yes, you have to know your customer, but how do you ask those questions? And I think that that's something we could do in the group here soon, Duncan, is like teaching how to ask those questions. I think that's a great topic for the group. So if you go to Facebook, search for Marketing Ping Pong Podcast or Marketing Ping Pong, join the Facebook group. We also have a page, but all the cool stuff is happening in the group. So request to join the group. We would love to see you there. Duncan, any last words?
Are you going to give me any hints on what the business is next week? I feel like that's a fun tradition. I want to try and guess.
So the hint the hint I was going to give you would reveal who the guest is.
Okay. Don't worry about it then.
Okay.
Yeah. Keep it a secret.
It's a fun business.
It's fun.
It's a fun business, and it is, I don't know. It's a fun niche business that is not for everybody.
And it's local. Fun local business.
And it's local. It's a local business that is not designed for everybody. It's not like our giant pizza restaurant where everybody likes pizza. It's going to be for a very specific niche of people.
Love it. All right. I'm
in. Awesome sauce. Okay, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode of Marketing Ping Pong.
Bye.
Bye.